This is I think the last day we did was 52. I might be wrong on this. 61. I think this is 61. Of trying to become an international rap icon. So a lot's happened. Most days I wasn't doing much, but there are a couple of days that are really worthy of note. For starters, after the Tuesday show, I think that I was trying to go to the studio on Wednesday, but I couldn't get a studio time on Wednesday, and the soonest I could book the studio time was for Friday, and that kind of threw off a lot of my rhythm. And that was Wednesday, and so I didn't really get much on Wednesday. Thursday, however, I had a really horrible show. It was I performed at the King of Diamonds. I didn't know I was going to be performing at the King of Diamonds. It was a disaster. Partially because of staff, partially because of me. I was supposed to perform a lot earlier than I did. By the time that I was performing, people were leaving. And I also performed 5 songs back to back with no breaks in between. And it was a whole fucking mess. Friday, I went to the studio. I recorded a bunch of stuff, to be honest. But the two things of note is that I finally got a pro record of Fiends, Queens, Mobsters, and Hans Niemann. And I've basically kind of been listening to it since then. I think that there's auto-tune on the rap vocals, which is something that I've kind of expressed that I don't really have an interest in. I think it makes my voice sound a lot higher than what it already is. And so there's a couple of things that definitely need to be re-engineered for both of those tracks. But in general, much better. I will say that, much better. Fiends, Queens, Mobsters is now a really compelling track and worthy of release, in my opinion. I still think that the main issues we were having with Fiends, Queens, Mobsters still persist. I think that Fiends, Queens, Mobsters, the lyrics would be much better suited on a different beat. Because the beat is just like, okay. That's really, like, I just don't think it hits the way I need it to hit. And there could be much better beats for it. And so maybe I'll play around with that, but we'll see. Because I still really do like the vibe. And I do kind of like to be myself, even if it doesn't even if I can't compliment the beat very well. Hans Niemann, however, Reagan really likes Hans Niemann, which is interesting. And fun fact, I listened to Hans Niemann and I cried. But I feel like Hans Niemann is just not super compelling. It's long. And it doesn't subvert your expectations anywhere. And I don't think that what I'm bringing to the table is good enough to stand on its own. Not to say that what I have isn't very compelling. It's just that as it's presented is just like way too long, I feel like. I'm not 100. I think so. But I still think it's a pretty good track. What else? Yeah, so I've kind of basically been going back and forth with that and just kind of listening to the song and just kind of determining what needs to be fixed, what needs to stay the same. Yeah. Just a couple of minor engineering issues that when I go back to the studio are going to be fixed. Will that make them, like, it's not going to revolutionize the tracks or anything, but I do think that it's going to make them at least better for my ear. I think I am gonna end up releasing them. I think that they're good. They're solid enough tracks. I really do. Maybe they're definitely not single level tracks or anything, but like as far as like just like rap narrative and all of that, I do think that they're good enough tracks. They're not like Hans Niemann isn't great. It's pretty good though, and I think that at this point we should be way more focused on volume, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. I still, especially since Hans Zimmer is the intro track of what will be the album eventually, I think that it might have to be more compelling. But I think that's something that we revisit later and leave what Hans Niemann is as it is by itself after we've like gone to the studio and re-engineered it. And honestly, same thing with Fiends, Queens, Mobsters. I think that I like both of those songs as they are. No, that's actually not true. Fiends, Queens, Mobsters needs like, it's a 16 and then a 32. And so I need to finish writing the lyrics for Fiends, Queens, Mobsters. So I think that's going to be the first agenda item next week. Also, I think next week that I'm going to record, I think that I'm going to record Revenge. And this will be the first time I've recorded Revenge in a studio, which will be really interesting. Outside of that, it's kind of been hard to get a rhythm because I've been like traveling to Richmond for work for content week. Not that that's really an excuse, but I know Monday or Tuesday night I was working on an edit. I think both Monday and Tuesday night I was working on an edit actually. So yeah, no, I think it was both nights. And so Wednesday, which is tonight, I was trying to get to myself to work on an edit, but like I had a bunch of things on my mind. Not that it's supposed to stop me. But yeah. Content weeks without music to really market feel really weird. I told myself, like, I had ideas for content week, and honestly, I still might make them. I still might make them because it's content week, and content weeks, I get to focus on things that I would like to create outside of just music and music. So we will see, depending on how the weekend goes. But I guess, and it's also just like today, like I got off the plane, like and I was doing all this stuff. It's a whole thing, but I think that yeah, content. Yeah, I think I just need to. Content weeks need to be more so focused on just coming out with content in general, and I always say this. But I think we're gonna do good on content week this week. I think Wednesday's just not been a good day today because we have a bunch of other stuff we're worrying about. I think going into tomorrow, I have an edit I'm working on, and I'm trying to determine whether or not I want to finish it. I think that was also kind of the pitfall of today, is that I was like, okay, I can work on the edit, but then I was like, but I don't think that the edit is really compelling enough. Not the actual editing itself, even though I do think that's a bit lackluster. But I feel like the anime AMVs are not gonna, like, I don't think they're gonna blow up, and I think that's kind of a problem. And if they're not gonna blow up, then there's no point in doing them, especially if it's not something that I can really automate. The whole point of making the AMV was that it was supposed to be low effort content, and so if it doesn't blow up, then like that completely defeats the purpose. I think that what I might try to do, since I can't get into computer and After Effects is still slow as hell, is downgrading to a different version of After Effects. Like, people were saying that AE 2019 was pretty good. So I think that we're going to probably downgrade to that and see how performance is and probably call it a day. And if that doesn't work, I think we might really consider investing into a new computer, like a framework laptop or something. I think that makes a lot of sense. But tomorrow, also I need to buy a tripod because I don't have one of those for the camera that I don't use nearly as much. But yeah, I think that I'm going to buy a tripod tomorrow. I'm going to install a different version of After Effects. And as far as content, I also need to keep holding myself accountable to take pictures every day. That's really important, and I keep forgetting that. Um, so take pictures. What else? I think that I will also, after installing After Effects, I'll probably work on finishing the edit. And honestly, I might start marketing content. I might start thinking about marketing content for Fiends, Queens, Mobsters. I think that's something else that I also need to consider. Now that the track is like fine, you know? Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. But yeah, I think that's all I got. So last week was music week. This week is content week. Tomorrow's gonna be Thursday. Going into the weekend, and that's something else I need to really think about, is that I really need to. Here's the plan. If I'm going to spend the rest of this week and next week trying to really start sleeping so that I can spend more time at my job working on AWS stuff so I don't have to um, quit doing music stuff. So I'm going to do AWS stuff during the day from probably 12 to 4. Coming into the office at 9 and seeing if that'll work. And then after that, I'm going to spend my weekends working on studying for the AWS exam. And if that doesn't work out, then I'm probably going to have to take a break from this so that I can spend that time working on the AWS exam from like 5 to 9. Well, it's turning out to like 5 to 11 now, but yeah. I think I'm going to have to get rededicated to sleeping, getting better sleep. I think that's something I've already started, or I kind of have like at least started in my brain. But yeah. Also, we're gonna have we might have updates about New York soon. Also, oh, I didn't even mention this. I have a show tomorrow and Friday, so that'll be really interesting. So I will keep you posted. But yes, this has been day 61, I imagine, of trying to become an international rap icon. And thank you for your time. Praise God.